Hana walked through the bright corridors of Harmony 7 station, her backpack slung over one shoulder. The space station was huge, home to the Galactic Youth Academy where young people from 47 different alien species came to learn. She was one of only 5 humans in the entire school. Most aliens stared at her when she passed. Humans were rare out here. Earth was what the galaxy called a Class 12 Deathworld. That meant her home planet was considered extremely dangerous. Too much gravity, too much oxygen, too many things that wanted to eat you. Most aliens couldn't survive there for even a day. Hana didn't feel dangerous. She was just a 16-year-old girl who missed her family and liked chemistry class. She was heading to the hydroponics bay to meet her friend Doyen. He was 14, also human, and struggling with the social aspects of the academy. Aliens didn't understand humans very well. They thought humans were either scary or stupid. Sometimes both. When Hana entered the hydroponics bay, she heard voices, angry voices. The bay was filled with plants from different worlds, creating a rainbow of colors under special lights. The air was humid and warm. Between 2 rows of purple fern-like plants, Hana saw Doyen backed against a wall. 3 tall figures loomed over him. They were Velrons. Hana recognized them from her xenobiology class. Velrons looked like they were made of colored crystal, tall and elegant. Their skin was translucent and caught the light in beautiful ways. They came from a low-gravity world with very little conflict. They thought of themselves as the most civilized species in the galaxy. The leader was named Veltron. Hana had seen him before, always surrounded by other students who seemed afraid of him. "You shouldn't be here, human," Veltron said to Doyen. His voice sounded like wind chimes. "Your kind pollutes our meditation gardens with your primitive presence." "I just wanted to study the plants," Doyen said quietly. His back was pressed against the wall. "I wasn't bothering anyone." "Your existence bothers us," another Velron said. "You're from a death world. You're basically an animal." Hana felt her jaw tighten. She walked forward, her shoes making soft sounds on the floor. "Leave him alone," she said calmly. All 3 Velrons turned to look at her. Veltron was nearly 7 feet tall. Hana was 5'6", but she didn't look away from his crystalline eyes. "Another primitive," Veltron said. "Go away, human. This doesn't concern you." "He's my friend," Hana said. "So it concerns me. Walk away, and we'll all forget this happened." Veltran laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. "You think you can tell me what to do? You're nothing. Your world is a nightmare that breeds monsters." He reached out and shoved Doyen hard in the chest. Hana moved without thinking. Her hand shot out and caught Veltran's arm before he could pull it back. Her reflexes were fast. All humans had fast reflexes compared to most aliens. On Earth, slow meant dead. "Don't touch him," she said. Veltran tried to yank his arm free. Hana just held on. She wasn't squeezing hard, just holding. But to a Velron from a low-gravity world, even a light grip from a death-world human was incredibly strong. "Let go of me!" Veltron shouted. He pulled harder. Hana's grip was like stone. She'd grown up with Earth's heavy gravity pulling on her every second of her life. Her bones were dense, her muscles were strong. She wasn't even trying hard. Veltran panicked and twisted violently. There was a sharp cracking sound. Hana immediately let go. Veltran stumbled backward, holding his arm. A thin fracture line ran through the crystal of his forearm like a crack in glass. "You broke my arm!" he screamed. "You attacked me!" "I didn't do anything," Hana said. "You hurt yourself pulling away." "Liar! Savage! Monster!" The other 2 Velrons helped their friend. One of them was already calling security on a communication device. Within minutes, station security arrived. They were a mixed group of different species wearing gray uniforms. They looked at Veltran's cracked arm, then at Hana. "She attacked me," Veltran said, his voice full of pain. "I was just talking to the small human and she grabbed me and broke my arm." "That's not what happened," Do-yun said, but his voice was too quiet. He was scared. "Is this true?" a security officer asked Hana. He was a Mytharian, like the principal, with green skin and large eyes. "I stopped him from hurting my friend," Hana said. "I just held his arm. He hurt himself trying to get away." "She's lying! Look at what she did to me!" More security arrived. They checked the security cameras in the bay. They talked in low voices. Hana saw them looking at her with suspicious eyes. She was human. She was from a Deathworld. Veltran was injured. To them, it was obvious who was at fault. "Miss Hana," the head security officer said, "you need to come with us. You're being suspended while we investigate this incident." "But I didn't." "Now, please." Hana looked at Do-yun. He looked terrified and guilty. She gave him a small smile. "It's okay," she said. "Tell Professor Nari what happened." As security led Hana away, she heard Veltran still complaining loudly about the violent human savage. She kept her face calm, but inside, she was worried. The Academy didn't understand humans. They probably never would. She just hoped they'd at least look at the security footage fairly. But she had a bad feeling they wouldn't. Principal Colvan sat in his office, watching the security footage for the 5th time. His large eyes blinked slowly as he tried to understand what he was seeing. On the screen, the human girl named Hana barely seemed to move. She reached out, caught Veltran's arm, and just stood there. But Veltran's arm had cracked. The medical report said it would take 2 weeks to heal, even with advanced treatment. Colvan was Mytharian. His people believed in peace and harmony above all else. Violence was almost unknown on his homeworld. Seeing anyone injured made him deeply uncomfortable. He paused the video and sat back in his chair. The situation seemed clear to him. Hana had caused an injury, even if she claimed it was an accident. Veltran's family was very important. They donated large amounts of money to the Academy. They were demanding justice. The solution was obvious. Hana would apologize publicly. Veltran would accept. Everyone would move on. Harmony would be restored. Colvan sent a message asking Hana and her guardian to come to his office the next morning. That night, Hana sat in the small apartment she shared with 2 other human students. Do-yun had told Professor Nari everything that happened. Nari was one of only 3 human teachers at the Academy, and she was furious. "They're blaming you for defending yourself," Nari said, pacing back and forth. She was a woman in her 40s with short black hair and tired eyes. "This is exactly the kind of discrimination we were worried about." "What's going to happen?" Hana asked. "I don't know yet. We'll find out tomorrow." Hana didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, Hana and Professor Nari walked into Principal Colvan's office. It was a large room filled with plants and the sound of running water. Everything was designed to be peaceful and calming. Colvan believed a calm environment led to calm minds. "Please sit," Colvan said, gesturing to chairs that were designed for Mytharian bodies. Hana and Nari sat awkwardly. "Principal, I want to discuss what really happened," Nari began. Colvan held up a webbed hand. "I have reviewed the security footage. I have read the medical reports. I have spoken with witnesses." "Then you know Hana was protecting another student from bullies," Nari said. "I know that young Veltran was injured, and Miss Hana caused that injury." "He grabbed at her friend. She simply held his arm to stop him. He injured himself." Colvan's large eyes blinked. "The result is the same. A student is hurt. We must restore harmony." "Harmony?" Nari's voice rose. "What about justice?" "Justice and harmony are the same thing," Colvan said calmly. "When someone causes harm, they apologize. The harmed party accepts. Balance is restored." He turned to Hana. "Miss Hana, tomorrow at the school assembly, you will give a formal apology to Veltran and his family. You will express regret for your actions. This will resolve the matter. Hana stared at him. You want me to apologize to him? Yes. He was bullying Doyen. He pushed him. I just stopped him. Intentions don't change outcomes, Kolvan said. You must take responsibility for the harm you caused. I didn't cause harm. He hurt himself. Kolvan's expression didn't change. Miss Hana, I understand you come from a culture with different values. But here, we value peace. We value taking responsibility. This is not a punishment. It is a learning opportunity. Professor Nari stood up. Principal, in human culture, we don't apologize for protecting people. We especially don't apologize to bullies. Then perhaps Miss Hana needs to learn our culture, Kolvan said. His voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath. The decision is made. Tomorrow at assembly she will apologize. If she refuses, she will be expelled from the academy. Hana felt like she'd been hit. Expelled? If she was expelled, it would shame Earth's entire program at the academy. It would make it harder for other humans to attend. It might even hurt Earth's reputation in the galaxy. You can't be serious, Nari said. I am completely serious. Veltran's family is very upset. They are demanding action. This is the most peaceful solution. The most peaceful solution for them, you mean? Nari said bitterly. Kolvan stood. You have until tomorrow morning to decide. The assembly begins at 10 o'clock station time. I suggest you make the right choice. Outside the office, Nari put a hand on Hana's shoulder. You don't have to do this. If I don't, I get expelled. We can fight this. We can appeal to the school board. How long would that take? Nari didn't answer. They both knew it could take months. Hana spent the rest of the day thinking. She talked to Doyun, who felt terrible about the whole situation. She talked to the other human students. She even sat alone in her room for hours, just staring at the wall. She thought about Earth, about her family, about all the humans who would come after her. Finally, late that night, she made her decision. She called Professor Nari. I'll do it. I'll apologize at the assembly. There was silence on the other end. Then Nari said, Are you sure? He wants an apology. Fine. He'll get one. Hana, what are you planning? I'm planning to give him exactly what he asked for. Nari heard something in Hana's voice, something that made her nervous. Hana, don't worry, Professor. I'll apologize. I promise. After Hana ended the call, she sat at her desk and began writing notes. She wrote for hours, crossing things out, rewriting, refining. If they wanted an apology from a human, from a Deathworld girl, they would get one. But they probably should have been more specific about what kind of apology they wanted. Hana smiled to herself as she worked. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had been pushed too far and was about to push back. Tomorrow, the whole school would learn something about humans. You don't back us into corners. Because we learned a long time ago that the only way out of a corner is straight through. The assembly hall was packed. More than 2,000 students filled the seats, representing 47 different species from across the galaxy. The air was filled with different sounds and smells. Some species breathed different gases, so they sat in special environmental bubbles. Others needed different temperatures or light levels. Hana stood backstage, waiting. She could hear Principal Kolvan's voice echoing through the hall, but she wasn't listening to his words. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were shaking slightly. Professor Nari stood beside her. You can still change your mind, she whispered. Hana shook her head. It's too late for that. On the stage, Veltran sat in a special chair with his family around him. His arm was wrapped in a healing device that glowed softly. He looked smug and satisfied. Next to him sat his parents, both tall and imposing, made of deep blue crystal. Principal Kolvan was finishing his speech. And today, we will see the true meaning of taking responsibility. When we make mistakes, we must have the courage to admit them. This is what separates civilized beings from animals. Several students glanced at the human section. Hana saw Doyun sitting there, looking miserable. "Please welcome Miss Hana to the stage," Kolvan said. Hana walked out. The hall went quiet. 2,000 pairs of eyes watched her. She walked to the podium and looked out at the crowd. She saw fear in some eyes, curiosity in others. A few looked sympathetic. Most just looked uncomfortable. Humans made them nervous. Hana took a breath and began speaking. Her voice was steady and clear. "I've been asked to apologize," she said. "So I will." Kolvan nodded, looking pleased. Veltron smiled. "I apologize," Hana continued. "That Veltron is so fragile that his own aggression injured him." The smile disappeared from Veltron's face. Kolvan's eyes went wide. "I apologize that your son was so poorly educated," Hana looked directly at Veltron's parents. "That he thought bullying someone half his size was acceptable behavior." Veltron's mother stood up. "How dare you!" But Hana kept talking, her voice growing stronger. "I apologize that in your culture, the victim must beg forgiveness from their attacker. I apologize that standing up for a friend is considered wrong here. Stop this at once," Kolvan said, but Hana ignored him. "I apologize that you'll have to explain to your homeworld that your superior son was stopped by a 16-year-old girl who didn't even try." The hall erupted in noise. Some students gasped. Others started talking all at once, but Hana raised her voice and kept going. "But most of all, I apologize for nothing. Because where I come from, Earth, the death world you all whisper about, we have a saying, never apologize for standing up when someone else is knocked down." She gripped the podium. "Do you want to know what a death world really is? It's a planet where children face down predators that could kill everyone in this room. It's a world where the air has so much oxygen it would burn your lungs, where the gravity would crush you, where the weather can kill you in minutes." Some aliens were leaning back in their seats, looking frightened. Others leaned forward, fascinated. "We eat food that's poisonous to most species," Hana said. "We breathe an atmosphere that would corrode your ships. We survive temperatures that would freeze or boil you. We do all of this before we're old enough to attend this academy." She looked at Veltran. "And you think you can push us around? You think we'll bow down because you're tall and your family has money?" "Security!" Veltron's father shouted. "Remove this human!" But the security guards didn't move. They were listening, too. "On Earth, we have another saying," Hana said. "The bigger they are, the harder they fall. You want to know why I didn't fall when Veltran pushed my friend? Because I've been carrying Earth's gravity on my shoulders since the day I was born. Your son weighs nothing to me." His push felt like a breeze. She stood straight. "I held his arm to stop him from hurting Doyun. I used less force than I'd used to open a door back home. He hurt himself because he panicked and pulled away. And now you want me to apologize for his weakness?" "This is outrageous!" Kolvan was standing now. "Miss Hana, you will stop speaking immediately." "I'm giving my apology, Principal," Hana said calmly. "You asked me to speak, so I'm speaking." She looked out at all the students. "You're all afraid of humans. You think we're violent, dangerous, savage. Maybe we are. But you know what else we are? We're loyal. When someone hurts our friends, we don't stand by and watch. We don't care if the bully is bigger or richer or more popular. We step up." Her voice dropped lower. "That's what being from a death world teaches you. It's not about being the strongest. It's about never giving up, never backing down, never apologizing for doing the right thing." She looked at Veltron one last time. "So no, I won't apologize to you. Not really. Because I did nothing wrong. And if the same situation happened tomorrow, I'd do exactly the same thing." Hana stepped back from the podium. The hall was completely silent. Then, from the human section, Doyun stood up and started clapping. The sound echoed through the quiet hall. A moment later, another student stood, then another. They weren't all human. A Centaurian student stood, then 3 more, then a group of students from a species Hana didn't even know. Within a minute, nearly half the hall was standing and applauding. Veltron and his family looked shocked. Principal Colvan's mouth hung open. Hana walked off the stage. Her legs felt weak. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Professor Nari met her backstage, her eyes wide. "What did you just do?" "Exactly what he asked," Hana said. "I apologized." Then her knees gave out, and Nari had to catch her. The adrenaline was wearing off, and Hana realized she might have just ended her time at the academy. But at least she'd done it her way. The school board meeting room was cold and formal. Principal Colvan sat at a long table, facing 5 board members who represented different species and different interests in the academy. He felt sick to his stomach. "Let me understand this correctly," said board member Thex, a species that looked like a floating jellyfish. "You asked a human student to apologize, and she used the opportunity to publicly humiliate another student and his family?" That is what happened," Colvan admitted. "But I didn't anticipate—" "You didn't anticipate that a human from a Deathworld might not respond the way you wanted?" This came from board member Taiyang, one of the few human representatives in the Academy's leadership. He was a man in his 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Did you even consult with any human staff before making your decision?" "I didn't think it was necessary." "That's the problem," Taiyang said coldly. "You never think it's necessary to understand us." Veltron's family had filed an official complaint within an hour of the assembly. They were demanding Hana's immediate expulsion. They were threatening to withdraw their funding. They were making a lot of noise. But something unexpected was happening, too. A petition had started circulating among the students. It already had over 300 signatures supporting Hana. The comments were revealing. "Veltron and his friends have been bullying smaller species for months." Finally, someone stood up to them. "I was afraid to report them because their family is powerful." Colvan hadn't known any of this. He'd been so focused on keeping the peace and keeping the donors happy that he'd missed what was really happening in his school. "I want a full investigation," Taiyang said. "Not just of the hydroponics incident, of everything involving Veltron and his group." "Is that really necessary?" Colvan asked weakly. "Principal, a student just gave a speech that was broadcast to the entire school. It's already spreading on galactic social media. News organizations are calling it the Deathworld apology. We need to know the full truth before this gets worse." Over the next 3 days, investigators went through months of security footage. What they found was disturbing. Veltran and 2 friends had been systematically targeting students from what they considered lesser species. Humans, yes, but also others. Species from high-gravity worlds, species with different appearances, anyone they thought was below them. There were dozens of incidents. Verbal harassment, physical intimidation. In one case, they'd destroyed another student's project just days before it was due. How had no one noticed? They had noticed. Complaints had been filed, but Colvan's office had marked them as low priority or students working out disagreements. Veltran's family donated so much money. It was easier to overlook things, to assume the best, to maintain harmony. Professor Nari brought in more evidence. A Centaurian student named Yuna came forward. She was small and quiet, from a peaceful species that avoided conflict. "Hana saved me," Yuna told the investigators. 2 months ago, Veltran's group cornered me in the library. They were making fun of my appearance, saying I looked like an insect. Hana walked by and told them to stop. They laughed at her. She just stood there between them and me until they left. "Why didn't you report this?" the investigator asked. "I did," Yuna said quietly. "I filed a complaint with the principal's office. I never heard back." The investigators found her complaint. It had been dismissed as misunderstanding due to cultural differences. More students came forward. A pattern emerged. Veltran and his friends targeted the vulnerable. They were careful to do it away from teachers. They chose victims who were unlikely to fight back, until they chose Do-Yoon, and Hana had been there. The security footage from the hydroponics bay was analyzed by experts in biomechanics. Their conclusion was clear. Hana had used minimal force. She'd simply held Veltran's arm in place. When he'd panicked and tried to yank free with all his strength, his own momentum against an immovable object had caused the fracture. The report stated, "The human student's grip strength, while exceptional by galactic standards, is normal for her species. She did not squeeze or twist. The injury was self-inflicted due to the Velron student's violent reaction." Board member Taeyang brought all of this to Kolvan's office. "Do you see what you did?" Taeyang asked. "You took the side of a bully because his family has money. You tried to force his victim to apologize, and when she refused to play along, you called it a problem." Kolvan felt shame burning through him. "I was trying to maintain peace." "Peace isn't the same as justice," Taeyang said. "You can have a quiet school where bullies are allowed to operate freely, or you can have actual harmony where everyone is safe. You chose the first option. What will happen to me? That's for the board to decide. But principal, you need to understand something about humans. We don't apologize for being strong. We apologize for being weak. We apologize for standing by while others are hurt. We apologize for choosing comfort over what's right." Taeyang stood to leave. At the door, he paused. "Hana did apologize, you know, in her own way. She apologized that your system failed, that your culture values politeness over protection, that you asked her to bow down to someone who deserved to be stood up to." After he left, Kolvan sat alone in his office for a long time. He thought he understood different cultures. He thought he was being wise and diplomatic. But he'd really just been taking the easy path, the comfortable path. He'd underestimated humans completely. He'd seen them as just another species to manage. He hadn't understood that Deathworld didn't just mean dangerous. It meant resilient, protective, unwilling to back down when it mattered. He'd asked a human to apologize for being human, and he'd gotten exactly the response he should have expected. The next morning, the school board announced their decision. Hana was fully cleared of all charges. Veltran was expelled for repeated harassment and bullying. His family's complaint was rejected. Principal Kolvan was placed on administrative leave. He would undergo mandatory training on cultural understanding and proper handling of bullying complaints. It was humiliating. It was deserved. As Kolvan packed his office, he found himself thinking about Hana's speech, about what she'd said about death worlds and never backing down. Maybe the galaxy needed to learn that lesson. Maybe he needed to learn it most of all. 3 weeks after the assembly, Hana sat in Professor Nari's office, drinking something that was supposed to taste like coffee but didn't. Nari had been promoted to Dean of Student Affairs. The office was bigger now, with windows looking out at the stars. "How are you handling everything?" Nari asked. Hana shrugged. "It's weird. Half the students treat me like a hero. The other half are afraid of me." "Are you afraid of yourself?" It was a serious question. Hana thought about it. "Sometimes. When I grabbed Veltran's arm, I wasn't thinking. My body just reacted. What if I'd actually hurt him? But you didn't. You held back without even trying. That's what I'm trying to get the board to understand. Humans don't have to choose between being strong and being gentle. We can be both." There was a knock on the door. "Come in," Nari called. Principal Kolvan entered. He looked different, smaller somehow, more humble. "Miss Hana," he said, "may I speak with you?" Hana glanced at Nari, who nodded. Kolvan sat down carefully. "I owe you an apology. A real one." "Okay," Hana said cautiously. "I was wrong," Kolvan said. "I was wrong about what happened in the hydroponics bay." I was wrong to ask you to apologize. I was wrong about a lot of things. He looked down at his webbed hands. I thought I was maintaining peace, but I was really just avoiding conflict. I let bullies operate freely because stopping them would have been uncomfortable. I failed you. I failed Doyun. I failed many students. Hana didn't know what to say. I've spent the last 3 weeks in training, Kolvan continued. Learning about different cultures, learning about humans specifically, learning about the difference between peace and justice. I have a lot to learn still. Why are you telling me this? Hana asked. Because you deserve to hear it. And because I want to ask if you'll accept my apology. Hana looked at him for a long moment. She could see that he meant it. He looked tired and sad, and genuinely sorry. Humans believe in second chances, she said finally. I accept your apology. Kolvan's large eyes brightened. Thank you. That means more than you know. After he left, Nari smiled at Hana. That took courage for him. Yeah, Hana agreed. Maybe he's learning after all. The academy changed in the months that followed. New policies were put in place. Any complaint of bullying was now investigated immediately. Students were encouraged to report problems, and those reports were taken seriously. Professor Nari hired another human teacher named Jiho, a former soldier who'd served on 3 different worlds. He started teaching a class called Understanding Deathworlds. It became the most popular elective in the school. Students learned that high-gravity worlds didn't just create strong beings. They created beings who understood endurance, who knew how to carry weight, who never gave up because giving up on Earth meant dying. They learned that humans weren't aggressive by nature. They were protective. There was a difference. The class also taught practical things. How to interact safely with humans. How to understand their cultural context. Why humans sometimes seemed emotional or reactive when they were actually showing remarkable restraint. 12 Velron students enrolled in the class. They wanted to understand what had happened with Veltran. They wanted to be better than he was. Yuna, the quiet Centaurian student, became friends with Hana. She started speaking up more in class. She even joined the academy's debate team. You showed me something, she told Hana one day. You showed me that being peaceful doesn't mean being weak. You can be kind and still have a spine. Doyen grew more confident too. He started a support group for students who'd been bullied. 20 students showed up to the first meeting. By the third meeting, they had over 50. As for Hana, she found that she wasn't as alone anymore. Other students approached her now, not because they were afraid, but because they wanted to know her. They asked about Earth, about what it was like growing up on a death world, about human culture and history. She told them about Earth's oceans that could swallow you whole, about storms that flattened cities, about predators that hunted in packs. But she also told them about Earth's beauty, about sunrise over mountains, about the feeling of rain on your face, about family and friends and love. Your world sounds terrifying, a student from a peaceful water world said. It is, Hana agreed. But it's also home, and it taught us something important. It taught us that being afraid doesn't mean running away. It means standing your ground and facing what scares you. 4 months after the incident, the Academy held a special assembly. This time, it was Hana's choice to speak. She stood at the podium and looked out at the crowd. Doyun was there, smiling at her. Yuna gave her a small wave. Professor Nari and Professor Jiho sat together looking proud. Even Principal Kolvan was there, back from his leave, watching with careful attention. When I first came to this academy, Hana began, I thought I needed to make myself smaller, less human, less death world. I thought that's what fitting in meant. She smiled. I was wrong. We don't fit in by making ourselves smaller. We fit in by being ourselves and making space for others to be themselves too. She looked around the hall. We're all different. We come from different worlds with different gravity, Different air, different dangers. Some of us come from peaceful worlds. Some come from harsh ones. Neither is better. They're just different. What matters is what we do here. Do we protect each other? Do we stand up when someone needs help? Do we judge people by their actions or by their appearance? Her voice grew stronger. I'm from a death world. That's never going to change. I'm always going to be stronger than most of you. I'm always going to have faster reflexes. I'm always going to be a little bit dangerous. But I'm also your classmate, your friend, your ally if you need one. Being from Earth doesn't make me a monster. It makes me someone who knows that the universe is hard and unfair, and the only way to survive is to take care of each other. She paused. So I'm not going to apologize for being human. Not ever. But I will promise you this. I'll use my strength to protect, not to hurt. I'll stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. And I'll never back down from doing what's right, even when it's hard. The applause started before she finished speaking. This time, almost everyone stood. The sound filled the hall like thunder. As Hannah walked off the stage, she felt something she hadn't felt since arriving at the academy. She felt like she belonged, not because she'd made herself smaller, but because she'd stood tall and showed everyone that different didn't mean wrong, that strong didn't mean cruel, that being from a death world meant she'd learned lessons that softer worlds never had to teach. Later that day, Hannah got a message from her parents back on Earth. They'd seen a video of her speech. It had spread across galactic social media. Millions had watched it. Her mother wrote, "We're proud of you. You showed them what it means to be human, what it means to be from Earth. You didn't apologize for who you are. You never should." Hannah smiled and looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, spinning in the dark, a dangerous world full of dangerous things. But also a world that created people who never gave up, who stood together, who protected the weak and challenged the strong. She was a death world girl. She always would be, and she wouldn't have it any other way.